سيداتي وسادتي، لقد هبطت الطائرة للتو. نرجو أن تبقوا جالسين وأحزمة مقاعدكم مربوطة إلى أن تطفأ إشارة ربط الأحزمة. عندما تغادرون الطائرة تحققوا من أخذ جميع أمتعتكم معكم، ويرجى الانتباه عند فتح الخزائن العلوية لأن محتوياتها ربما تكون قد تحركت أثناء الرحلة. نودعكم بالنيابة عن قائد الطائرة وطاقمها، ونأمل أن نلتقي بكم مرة أخرى قريبا. شكرا.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just landed. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the seatbelt sign has been switched off.
Good day, this is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you for Reason to Resist from Beirut, Lebanon on June 4th, 2026. I arrived in Beirut a couple of hours ago. I am now in the central part of Beirut in an area known as Biel, which is the waterfront. Behind me are the tents of families that have been displaced principally from the south of the country by Israel's genocidal rampage. I am told that there are approximately 500 families currently being housed in this displacement encampment. Over here you can see central Beirut. We're going to take a walk closer to the tents of the displaced persons in a moment. I'm with Laith Marouf of Free Palestine TV, and he'll be giving us more detail about the people here and the trials and tribulations that they've experienced during this genocidal war on Lebanon. When I arrived at the airport today and stepped outside, the first thing I noticed was the sound of an Israeli drone overhead. And have a listen to this. After our arrival in Beirut and my check into the hotel, we went to Dahiyeh briefly. We obtained permission to videotape a couple of the destroyed structures in Dahiyeh. This is the southern suburb of Beirut, which the Western press and Western governments love to refer to as the Hezbollah stronghold, as though that provides some kind of justification for the atrocities Israel has committed there. Here is what I saw at our initial stop in Dahiyeh. We were only given a few minutes to film because of the security situation, but this was one of the destroyed buildings that we were afforded the opportunity to see and to discuss on camera. So this is, are we now in Dahiyeh?
Yes.
And how long does it go for? Is it like 5 or 6 kilometers, or is it basically all the way to central Beirut is Dahiyeh?
No. Dahiyeh is to the right.
To the right, but how much further?
2 kilometers and we are in Beirut.
Shatila?
Yeah, this is the other entrance.
This is the neighborhood of Dahiyeh that I'm in. This is the so-called Hezbollah stronghold that the Israelis have attacked repeatedly, and that they were threatening to bomb mercilessly just a couple of days ago, until, at least we are told by the corporate media, Donald Trump intervened, and he reportedly did that after the Iranian government said that it was going to cut off negotiations and it would bomb northern Israel if Israel bombed Beirut again. This building was not bombed within the last couple of days. In fact, the Israelis have thus far refrained during this 2 to 3 day period from striking Beirut. This building was destroyed by an Israeli strike in March, in the early phases of the Ramadan war against Iran and Lebanon. And although the building was empty at the time, 2 people who were walking by, 2 pedestrians who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, were killed. As you can see from over here, buildings have suffered significant collateral damage as a result of the strike. The building behind me I'm told by locals was simply a small commercial shopping center, and the building behind it is a separate building that is an apartment building, which was also struck. The Dahiyeh today has a significant amount of activity in it, pedestrians and vehicular traffic. As you may know, the residents of this area fled about 3 days ago when Israel threatened that it was going to yet again bombard this densely populated part of Beirut. Now it looks like they've started to come back, or at least, I guess I could put it this way, they're in a state of indecision and not sure exactly how safe it is. This is not the normal levels of activity that I've witnessed during the daytime in Dahiyeh before the war, but it's also the case that this area has not been entirely evacuated either. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. Hopefully the Israelis will not resume their murder spree in this part of the country in the next few days, but experience teaches us when you're dealing with Israelis to be skeptical in that regard. These are shops that are across the street from the destroyed building we just showed you, and up on the wall here, these are blood stains from the two pedestrians who were walking by and killed by the blast. You can see up here not only their blood stains, but also the shrapnel damage. These are also holes from the shrapnel. So we've now moved a couple of blocks away from where we just showed you the destruction of a building. Behind me is another massive building that was completely leveled to the ground. This was a bank. The name of the bank is El Kart Al Hassan. It was, apparently that translates roughly into good loans, and it made no interest loans to people who were in need of financing to start a small business or to purchase a home. The Israelis destroyed this building completely in March of this year during the hot phase of the Ramadan war. Well, the hot phase never ended in Lebanon, although it was sort of suspended in Iran. In any case, no one was killed in the strike because the Israelis announced shortly before they destroyed this building that they were going to attack systematically the branches of this bank. And deprive, the many people who had relied and would be relying on it in the future, or might be relying upon it in the future, of much needed financing for businesses or home purchases. In any case, I can't stay here too long. We need special permission to film anywhere in Dahiyeh because of the ongoing severe threats to the residents of this area. I'm going to move on now and see if there are other areas of destruction that I can show to you. Now, there have been some potentially significant political developments within the past 24 hours relating to Lebanon. The United States, Israel, and the Lebanese national government have announced what they characterize as a ceasefire agreement. It's a 2-page document. It starts by casting the United States government as a mediator between Israel and Lebanon, which is of course utterly preposterous because the United States is itself fueling the destruction of Lebanon, providing the weapons, the intelligence, the political cover, the protection from legal accountability, and the demonization, vilification, and persecution of anybody who condemns Israel's crimes, whether in Lebanon or Palestine or Iran or elsewhere. So the United States is participating and in fact is the driving force behind the destruction of Lebanon. It is unquestionably absurd and an insult to our intelligence to suggest that the United States is in any position to act as a mediator in any attempt to resolve the destruction of Lebanon by Israel. And the same can of course be said with respect to the Palestinians. There too, the United States has time and time again cast itself as a mediator of negotiations between Israel, the genocidal apartheid aggressor, and the victims of the aggression, when it is the United States that is in fact enabling the genocide and the apartheid regime to carry out its crimes in every way imaginable. And we saw this same spectacle also in the case of Ukraine. There too, the United States has attempted to persuade the world that it is a legitimate and credible mediator between Russia and Ukraine, when in fact the United States is, as it is in these other wars of aggression, the driving force behind that war as well. And not surprisingly, in every one of these cases, the so-called mediated negotiations have resulted in complete and utter failure. The crimes of Israel continue in Gaza and in Lebanon. To this very moment, there were reports today backed up by video evidence that Israel is bombing the south, killing civilians. And the Ukraine war, of course, is not only not ended, about a year and a half after Trump returned to the White House promising to bring it to an end in 24 hours, but it is in fact escalating. So please, let's not take seriously any agreement presented to the public on the basis that it was mediated by the United States in wars such as these, to which the United States is itself a belligerent party. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to try to access the south, and particularly the ancient city of Sur, which has been mercilessly bombed by the Israelis during the past couple of weeks. There's no indication that this savagery is going to end anytime soon. This agreement, this two-page document that was published today by the United States government, Israel, and the Lebanese national government, it announces a ceasefire, apparently throughout the whole of Lebanon, but says that it's conditional upon Hezbollah stopping its attacks on Israel. The problem with this is that the agreement does not require the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Lebanon, parts of which it now occupies illegally, and it is using its control of limited areas in the south to level to the ground every single structure that it can get its grubby paws on. And there's simply no prospect that Hezbollah is going to stop attacking Israeli soldiers as long as they are illegally occupying the country, and on top of that, destroying civilian infrastructure, or any infrastructure for that matter. So this is dead in the water from the very get-go. The agreement also calls for the disarmament of Hezbollah, and it doesn't make that explicitly a precondition of the ceasefire, but it clearly envisions that the Lebanese government, by some miracle, is going to have to find a way to disarm the resistance. Again, this is completely beyond the realm of imagination. Hezbollah has said repeatedly that it will not be disarmed, not by anyone, unless and until the state of Lebanon is both willing and able to defend the country from Israeli aggression. And if they had some ability to do that, if the national government or Israel had the ability to disarm Hezbollah, it would have been done by now. But by all indications, Hezbollah's ability to inflict casualties on Israel has actually improved considerably at this late stage of the war on Lebanon, principally through the use and the increasingly effective use by the Lebanese resistance of FPV fiber optic drones. And the leader of Hezbollah actually came out with a statement today responding to this so-called ceasefire agreement, and pretty much said that it is worth toilet paper. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. He's more diplomatic than that, but he's rejected it quite resoundingly, and understandably so. So I think we are going to see a continuation of this war, although Trump and Netanyahu claimed that they had a spat, first reported by former Israeli intelligence agent Barak Ravid of Axios. But the United States has not withdrawn its support for Israel, not in any respect as far as one can tell. So there's simply no concordance between Trump's statements and his actions. By now, sensible people have learned not to pay any attention to Donald Trump's promises, commitments, proclamations, and to focus on what he's actually doing. And what he's actually doing is escalating the war in Lebanon through Israel, escalating the war on Iran, and escalating the war on Russia through Ukraine. That's who Donald Trump is. And quite apart from all of that, there's never been a ceasefire that Israel has accepted we should bar anyone from putting the word ceasefire in the same sentence as Israel, because that is bound to be misleading in an important way and to deceive the public into thinking, into understanding what Israel's true intentions are. This agreement on paper will not be respected by Israel. As I said, they are bombing the country today, virtually as I speak, even though they claim to have entered into a ceasefire agreement with the Lebanese national government. And the other thing I want to say about this agreement that was published today, it is absurd in the extreme, really offensive to suggest that the resistance to Israeli aggression should disarm before Israel itself is disarmed, just as it was absurd to demand that Palestinian resistance groups be deprived of their light arms while Israel remains armed to the teeth and is carrying out a genocide against them. Anybody who demands the disarmament of any resistance group, whether in Lebanon, Palestine, Iran, Yemen, or anywhere, that is being subjected to brutal aggression by Israel and its Western backers, should be immediately disregarded as an imperialist propagandist or just a lying fool. This two-page agreement even contains an announcement, a declaration by Lebanon's government and Israel's government that neither holds any hostile intentions with respect to the other. Well, I'm quite confident that the Lebanese government is telling the truth. It has no hostile intentions towards Israel. It's done absolutely nothing, in fact, to oppose Israel's destruction of the country. Its mass murder of Lebanese journalists, medical workers, children, its destruction of hospitals. By the way, the World Health Organization just put out a report which documented dozens of attacks by Israel during the last couple of months on medical workers and medical facilities. I think it identified 17 hospitals in Lebanon that had been damaged, and I think 3 of them, as I recall, it said remain completely out of operation. So it is, again, the height of absurdity for Israel to be declaring that it has no hostile intentions towards Lebanon. So this ceasefire agreement will go nowhere and will soon be forgotten, just like all the other ceasefire agreements that Israel has disdained and violated 6 ways from Sunday. Now we're going to take a walk across the street here. I'm going to be accompanied by our comrade Laith Marouf of Free Palestine TV is going to explain to us not only the background of this displacement camp, but the interesting historical background of this entire area, again known as Biel in central Beirut. Let's hear what Laith has to say. So our good friend and comrade Laith Marouf has kindly volunteered to give us a tour of this displacement camp. Let's cross the street over here and hear what Laith has to say about the background of this facility. So Laith, before we exited the vehicle and began to explore this area, you told me some very interesting background about Biel, something really which should offend the conscience of any Lebanese citizen. How did this site come into existence?
Well, this was actually all water here, and it was a public beach where the main street is, and this was all water. And as we can see, all of this is newly built. At the end of the Civil War, and Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri came. By the way, you can see at the end there the government offices. You know, that's the where the ministers are. This is the
right at the very end of the street.
Exactly, the Sarai there.
Right.
And so when the Civil War ended, Rafiq Hariri, with his construction company, confiscated all the waterfront, took it by force from their owners, and demolished all the old city that used to be here, and the old souk, the old market, and made billions of dollars building these condos. And also they took all the rubble and dumped it here, covering the public beach that used to be here and making it into this conference and venue area for their summer festivals and stuff like this. The water is still now there, but as you see, first off, of course, a lot of people that used to own properties here hate the Hariri family for the confiscation and the fraud. And as you can see, still the area is not really that developed after taking away the public beach. But they needed to take away the public beach so the millionaires that would buy these condos wouldn't have the poor swimming in front of them. So even though they took this land, it's not developed because there's not much investments coming. There's war after war in Lebanon. And as we can see right now, this is a refugee camp.
And you told me something about the attitude of these millionaire condo owners to the refugees here.
So the war started, thousands of people, million people in the south of Lebanon in the Dahiyeh had to look for places to shelter, and many of them couldn't find anything, and they started putting up tents in this area. And so the condo owners got really pissed off because they're waking up for the morning and they're seeing these impoverished people in front of them. So they began putting pressure on the city hall of Beirut, the mayor and the government to try to evacuate these people by force somewhere else. And the suggestion was to evacuate them to the Olympic Stadium near the airport. The Olympic Stadium is already very packed. There's no services in it either. And if you go to there, you have to show your ID going in and going out, and there's a curfew. So many of the families refuse to do that. The other reason that many people didn't want to go is that a lot of the internally displaced people don't think about this are Syrian. There's a lot of Syrian workers all around the south that have been there for decades, some of them 30, 40 years, 50 years that lived there. And now they are refugees here, but they cannot access any government services because they are Syrian, not Lebanese. So when the police came to remove people here, they wanted to remove first the Syrians, and the locals, the Lebanese refugees, defended the Syrian refugees, and there was a big scuffle. So the government backed out initially from that battle, and eventually, they brought in those blue tents that we see. Before that, it was random tents and some NGOs that brought in tents. But now we have more organized, but the Syrian refugees had to leave. The government wasn't going to give anyone any services until the Syrian refugees leave. There's no electricity, there's no porta potties, and as you can see, they put a tower right there, a cell tower to service the camp. But because there's no electricity, people are unable to charge their phones and so on. So the students that have to do online schooling are really failing because of these problems.
So we were told that this character Al-Jolani was going to deliver democracy and human rights to Syria. Why would there be Syrian refugees in this country at this stage? He's been in control in Damascus for, 2 years now? What's going on
a year
there?
and a half. Well, obviously, Al-Jolani gave up the Golan to Israel, and targeted all the minorities, the Christians, the Alawites, the Shia, the Druze, and even the Sunnis, because the majority of Sunnis in Syria and Lebanon are not Wahhabi, from the Wahhabi cult. They are part of the Sufi schools of Sunni Islam, the mystic schools, and their imams were also targeted in Syria. So we didn't only have a wave of refugees from the minorities that came in after Al-Jolani took control. We also had another wave of Sunnis that are not Wahhabi, especially ones that are associated with the religious schools, the seminaries and so on. They were targeted by Al-Jolani and his Wahhabi cult. They want to forcefully convert people into Wahhabism. So yes, people are not going to go back. There's no electricity, there's no gas, oil, food is all the subsidies that were there that the Syrian government had for wheat and sugar and oil and all of that are gone. All the national health system in Syria has been privatized. They sold over 40 national hospitals to billionaires. And so everything now is expensive in Syria. It's almost as expensive as Lebanon now, the prices, without any change in the economy or bettering of the economy, and with total withdrawal of services. So yes, people that are here, refugees, they still have a better life than going back to Syria because of access to work and or cheaper living conditions.
And can you tell us anything about what specific villages in the south these people have come from?
Many of them are frontline villages, and we saw a few tents that have put signs saying Kafar Kila welcomes you. In my visits, I've seen at least four tents having that sign.
Kafar Kila was a village you and I and David Miller, Professor David Miller, visited, Rami Yahya as well, in February, around the time of Sayyid Nasrallah's funeral. And as we showed, it has been completely leveled to the ground. And so I can imagine there's really, not only is there nothing to live in at this particular stage, but the possibility of rebuilding is simply not present because of the constant threat of Israeli attacks on the civilian population. So are there other, can you identify other frontline villages that these people have come from?
I saw one time, one of them had a sign, I don't know if it's still on, that they're from Khiyam. So a lot of these are the really, really frontline villages that there's, that don't have extended family. And if they had extended family, they were from the villages around them, which are already destroyed. So they couldn't go to extended family homes to stay in. So whoever is in this camp specifically are the most forgotten and have the least connections to find a place to stay.
So Leif, this man was kind enough to tell you a little bit about how he ended up here. Where is he from, and what can you tell us about his circumstances?
As it says here, Qana of the Galilee welcomes you. They are from Qana, on the famous site of the wedding in the Galilee, where Jesus Christ performed his first miracle, turning water into wine when Mother Mary asked them to do so. And they had to escape. Qana came under attack. It's partially destroyed.
In the current round of
Yes. And Qana is south of Sur, between Sur and the border in the hills. So it's been bombarded. It's not occupied. They went around it, but most people evacuated because it's now behind enemy lines, but it's not occupied. And that tent there says Kafar Kila, which we said, of course, we went together there. So that shows you how, these people are still proud of where they came from, and still want to go back there. They want to announce where they're from, so nobody forgets where they're from. And it's a point of pride to be from Qana. It's a point of pride to be from Kafar Kila. And these people's love for their land, even in this displacement situation, is visible for everyone.
If I remember correctly, and this is something I learned on one of my earlier trips to Lebanon, Qana was the site of a massacre by Israeli terrorists under the command of the future Prime Minister of Israel, Naftali Bennett. He attacked a UN camp for displaced persons, and I think he killed and massacred over 100.
Yes, twice. They attacked the UN UNIFIL base in 1996. That's the first Qana massacre. And in the last day of the 2006 war, after it was already clear that the Israelis have been defeated, and the United States was, telling them to withdraw, and as they were withdrawing, always the Israelis in the last day of whatever war, they go on a rampage, and they decided purposefully to attack again the Qana UNIFIL base, where it was also refugees were hiding there, and they got martyred. So it's kind of what how the Israelis right now are saying, we're crazy, we're crazy. That's what they try to do because they see the resistance of the people here, and they want to kind of burn it in our mind that they're crazy and they'll go on massacres if we don't allow them to defeat us.
Right. Well, tomorrow we are going to be heading south of Beirut. We'll see how far we can get. Probably it's in the interest of our own safety that we not give more detail than that at this particular moment. But we are going to do our best tomorrow to show you what is happening in the parts of the country that are being ravaged by these genocidal maniacs. For now, we're signing off from Beirut, Lebanon on June 4th, 2026.